All the tools to see it out there are available to you. There's talent acquisition and there's a financial restructuring that have to happen. He's got to do them both. And again, you're spending $18.5 million this year on Trey Flowers and Jamie Collins.
And I know people hate this word, but it's one of patience and building it the right way.
Bob Johnson, WoodwardSports.com chat thread. 3 out of our top 6 draft picks aren't on the field. Our great backups are Brockers, Chark, and re-signing Harris. What does Dan have to coach? I don't know, Bob. Like a gold jacket, offensive lineman, a all-pro caliber wide receiver, 100-plus tackle linebacker that was plucked in the 6th round. I don't know, Bob. That's what he's got to coach, Bob. I'm not having this, man. I'm not having the Brad Holmes stuff. And Terry, I'm going to go to you because you're a source on this. You've talked to many GMs over the years, new ones, old ones, hopeful ones, fired ones, all of them. If you can't see what the plan is from a financial perspective and what they were lining up, Terry, because as I've taken great pains to explain to everyone, the 90-ish million in cap space in 2024, 3 of the first 35 picks coming up in this draft. If you can't see every free agent or lack of free agent move, because we saw him get heat about lack of free agents move, and yes, I'm going back to this because apparently some people choose not to listen, so here we are, T. He can't come out there and say, look, I had to flush this thing financially, and we're angling towards 2024. He can't go to a microphone and say that.
He cannot, but that can be the game plan.
And that is the game plan. Guys, look at it. All the tools to see it out there are available to you. Look at how this thing progresses, everybody. If you can't see it, then I can't help you anymore.
Is it not fair that I have to clock on Dan Campbell to the end of the season, but Brad Holmes, if you want to reevaluate or give him, it's after the free agent period next year or after the draft.
Not even the free agency period. There's one more year where you got to eat it.
So really, his clock is 2 years from now,
right?
Because of where the money's at, where the draft's at. So his clock technically hasn't even started yet. But you see him rearranging the furniture, getting things in place, talking about the contracts, getting him off.
He didn't walk in here and sign Trey Flowers to $70 million contracts.
You have to make it apparent is there's two, right? People are fandom and I think it's the older generation. We look at sports in one-dimensional or 2D. It's 3D, it's 4D because you have to look at the draft, you have to look at the draft capital, then you have to look at the talent. And right, there's two different things that people just don't. When they argue with you, they're arguing singularly instead of arguing both.
And it's ironic you bring that up. Bob follows up and says, so Holmes has time to progress, but Campbell doesn't. That's BS. No, because it's 2 separate jobs.
Yeah.
There's talent acquisition and there's a financial restructuring that have to happen. He's got to do them both.
And the other guy has to coach the team.
That's it. Help me, Terry.
All right, guys.
Or don't help me. Tell me I'm full of it.
Nah, you're not full of it. Here, guys, here's what's happened. Since 1999, the Lions have had Matt Millen, Martin Mayhew, Quinn Trisha. And so now you think this guy's going to walk in and build a roster in 2 years?
Yeah.
In 1 year or 2 years, whatever it's been? No. If you're going to do it right, where the franchise has been decimated for 20 years at least, there is a game plan that you must stick to, and I know people hate this word, but it's one of patience and building it the right way. Yes, he could have signed some 2-bit free agent,
Jamie Collins,
right, and they could have been
Flowers.
Better. But then you'd have to get rid of that player in a couple of years, and then maybe you still have some cap ramifications. It would make no sense. So what the Lions must continue to do is get younger. Here, Neil, I know I don't want to make you cry, but less expensive, and then move on and build that way.
Is it fair to say what Brad Holmes is doing is not what Kenny Holland did?
It's the exact opposite.
Exact opposite. Instead of giving Stephen Weiss and Franz Nielsen all these and trying to make it in and just make the playoffs, this direction that Brad Holmes is taking the team and building it is to get to the playoffs and be a team that wins 9 and 10, is to be a division winner. Do you see it that way, Neil? Because if he did it Terry's way, then okay, you're 6, 7, 8. Yeah, maybe you make the playoffs, maybe you make the wild card or whatever, but you're not making your organization better in the long run.
Here's what he's done since he's got the Lions.
He came into Chernobyl.
He has one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
When healthy.
I can't tell you the last time we looked at a Lions unit and said, that's one of the best in the NFL. You've never said that. Maybe you sort of said it with running back when they had Barry, or wide receiver when they had Calvin Johnson. But as a group, you never said that about a Lions unit. So, and DeAndre Swift, when he's healthy, one of the better running backs in the NFL. So he decided, let's build around him. Let's build around an offensive line. Where he failed was that the Lions continue to have an awful defense. And so maybe he could have made some other moves there, but he decided, I'm going to get one of the best wide receivers for the future. I have Pascal for the future. So I have some pieces that I can't play now, but I'm okay with that this year because we weren't going to the playoffs. We were going to stink and let these guys walk in and be productive next year, the following year, and the year after that.
Okay, we'll draw the sword some more. William Turnbull, WoodwardSports.com chat thread. You made fun of GM John Elway, who has won a Super Bowl as a GM, but you defend Brad Holmes, who passed on a generational talent. It proves that you know nothing. Well, William, he had Peyton Manning for $15 million on that team. He had Von Miller for $9 million on that team. He had Aqib Talib on that team for $7.5 million, William. So that proves you know nothing about how finances work, William. I'm sorry, man. Those are the facts. You're telling me what you think. I'm telling you what we know.
What generational
talent did he pass
they're going
on?
to say Micah Parsons probably, gold jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other gold jackets that were in that draft?
In that instance, you chose.
You chose your gold
line
jacket
or linebacker.
Hey, he made a decision, right? Like he's putting. The one thing with Brad Holmes, let me ask you this, Neil. Do you see a direction that he's building this? Because Terry shows me that it's something that he's putting the stone pieces down. He can't build the road or the fence all in one day. Right, and that's the thing. It's almost like building your fantasy team where you have a keeper league and you got a guy that's on the IR or whatever, but you keep him, you don't get rid of him because you have use for him when this team's going to be good.
I think what fans are saying, let me get this guy, that guy, and this guy, and spread them all over the place. What Brad Holmes decided to do, let me build units. I want to build the offensive line, then I want to build the edge rushers, because what I've been told in this league, if you can disrupt the other team's quarterback and they're scared, that's huge. Getting rush ins, which he's getting, he got in Pascal and Aiden Hutchinson, and they're probably pan out at some point, but they're not going to pan out as rookies, and obviously Pascal is injured. But he's decided offensive line and now rush ins. I'm putting my hat on those.
And again, I'll go back to the Sewell thing. Even last week against New England, 100 yards rushing for the Lions. Mm-hmm. Do we forget? Do we forget what this Lions rushing attack was for 8 years?
But people don't pay attention to the offensive line. It's not like Penei Sewell is a turnstile. The dude is playing very well. So, offensive line is not sexy. When somebody rushes for 100 yards, the way we look at it is just DeAndre Swift doing it. We don't realize the cohesiveness. We don't look at the choreography of the offensive line. But that's very important. And he's built one of the best in the National Football League.
Corona in the WoodwardSports.com chat thread. Never forget the Perriman signing. It was a $2.4 million flyer that had no long-term ramifications. He stepped up to the crap table on it. There was no risk involved.
Did we sign Brashad Perriman for 5 years, $100 million?
No. Did they give him a Kenny Galladay contract?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. Did they give him a Jamie Collins contract? No, they didn't. And again, you're spending $18.5 million this year on Trey Flowers and Jamie Collins. Still, I got to remind everybody that. D-Mac, I'm sorry that I have to go do that, but apparently I do.
No, you have to, because there's so many different. It's all the information. All of this power. It's the way it is, and it should. Right? Unfortunately, no. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes aren't on the same clock. Right? And coaching, I see arguments about, well, it's Holmes got to get him the talent. If the coach doesn't have the talent, then we can't do it. No, that has nothing to do with making the proper timeouts and coaching and making the right coaching decisions at different times.
I have a critical question for all you gentlemen and people in the chat. Who has more talent? The Detroit Lions teams this year or the Detroit Lions team the last year of Matt Patricia? Answer the question.
That's a very easy answer. You have one of the best offensive lines in the game now.
I think you have better talent on defense.
So you got
Patricia.
a better roster now than you did at the end of Patricia, right?
100%.
We all agree on that?
100%.
At the end of Patricia, yes, because he got rid of a lot of guys.
Patricia won 6 games somehow.
Right. And you have an infinitely better financial situation.
Right.
Infinitely better.
So that tells you there is a flaw with the coach. If he's got better talent than a guy that we ran out of town and said was a nincompoop, then there's something wrong. See, the thing with Brad is people like him. He's likable. He's fiery. Dan Campbell. All these things that we like. He's all these things that fans have been asking for in a coach for years. The problem is he can't win, and he makes the same mistakes as a lot of coaches are making.
And it's traceable.
Correct.
Like when they arrested Al Capone, they didn't get him on murder. They got him on taxes because there was a paper trail. Mm-hmm. There's a paper trail with Dan Campbell.
Yep.
Quit hitting him with facts, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.